and welcome to your examination. My name is Calliope, and I am going to be taking care of you today. How are you doing today? I see. I hope by the time you leave this examination you feel even just the littlest bit better. Now, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just confirm your name and date of birth for me. Wonderful. And is that your preferred name? And how do you like to be addressed? Excellent. Wonderful. Now, as I understand it, we are performing a cerebellar examination for you. Is that correct? Wonderful. So the cerebellar examination is a type of neurological examination, and we are going to be looking at things like your vision. We're going to be looking at your motor movements, coordination, speech, for example. Now, before we get into it, I'd love to tell you a little bit about what the cerebellum is and what it does. Cerebellum in Latin means little brain. It is about the size of your fist and sits underneath the cerebrum and is attached to the brainstem. If we look at the brain as a whole, we can see the cerebrum here, the brainstem consisting of the diencephalon, the midbrain, the pons, which means bridge in Latin, and the medulla oblongata here, the spinal cord, and then the cerebellum. Like the cerebrum, it has two hemispheres. We're not exactly sure everything that the cerebellum does. Much of what we know comes from observing individuals who have had damage to the cerebellum. Its largest role seems to be in motor function, more specifically aspects like coordination, balance, timing, motor learning/adaptation, and posture. It also has a part in functions like speech, vision, and attention. So to start our examination, I do know that your medical history says that you have not had any surgery pertaining to the cranium at all, but I would like to just double check if you don't mind. Wonderful. It just involves me looking at your head and through your hair, looking for any sort of scarring on the skull. So from this point forward, I will need to be touching you. Is that okay with you? Do I have your consent to do that? Wonderful. Thank you. So let me just grab a little tool here and I'll get a little closer. And we're going to take a little look here at the scalp. So let me just look around here and looking for just any of those little surgical sites, any little raised bits here. Just having a little peek around the head here. So right back here. Right in this area is about where your cerebellum would sit. From here to here. Right in this area. And I'm just pulling back the hair a little bit and also using my fingertips to feel around. Any textural changes are going to be a little more evident with my fingers rather than by vision. Just part this right here and then look right in here. Good. Over here. Okay, so I was very gentle and your hair was not mussed at all. So I won't have you going out of the examination room with your hair all a mess. Now we're going to move on to the vision part of the examination. So if you could just tell me real quick, as I have my finger up here, are you experiencing any sort of double vision at all? Does this look just like one finger, or are you having a bit of an aura around it, around anything else you're seeing? No. Wonderful. So I am going to have you track my finger here. We're going to do a little follow the finger test. We're primarily looking for nystagmus and impaired pursuits. So we're looking for involuntary eye movements, and we're looking at the way that your eyes track my finger here. So if you could just look here, and using only your eyes, without moving your head, if you could just follow my finger, we're just going to come to the side here, up, down, wonderful, back to neutral, side, up, down, and back to neutral. Are you finding this to be fairly easy? Okay, and any of that double vision at all? No, okay. So, side, up, down, back to neutral, side, up, down, back to neutral, and let's go up and down, up and down. Good, and let's go diagonally up, diagonally down, diagonally down, and diagonally up, diagonally up, diagonally down, diagonally down, and up. Wonderful. Okay, so now I'm just going to be moving my finger around, all right? Just keep tracking it as best as you can. So let's go up, and let's just make some shapes here. So in a moment, we will be testing your saccades. So your pursuits are these smooth eye movements here. And your saccades are the rapid eye movements. Good, and let's just go in a nice circle here. As best as you can, just follow my finger. And let's bring it in and out, in and out, in and out. Good. If you could switch to this finger, we're going to come in and out, in and out. Good. And just keep following my finger around, looking for any of those involuntary movements. And should they happen, then we're looking for the direction of the movement as well as the direction of gaze. Good. Just keep watching this a little bit. Come a little further in, out, in, and out. Good. Okay, and right there. Wonderful. So, to test your saccades, I am going to put my hand right here. And if you could look at the center of my palm and then my nose. Center of my palm and my nose. Back and forth and back and forth. And we're going to test those little quick eye movements. So if you could just look back and forth. Back and forth and back and forth. Okay, just do that a few times. Back and forth. Good. And then over here. You could just look back and forth and back and forth. The center of my palm to my nose. Back and forth and back and forth. Good. Back and forth, back and forth. Wonderful. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to have you do that with this finger here and this finger here. If you could just look one finger, the other, good, just a few times. Wonderful. And how was that? All right, and one last time, no double vision at all? Good. So let's just note that down. Good. Now I'm going to test a little bit of your speech. So when we have cerebellar abnormalities, we might get a slurring or a staccato speech. I have a list of words that I'm going to have you say. They are a little tricky, but I am going to just have you repeat them after me. We have accidental occasion. Accidental occasion. Do you mind saying that for me? Accidental occasion. Good. British Constitution. British Constitution. Good. British Constitution. And chocolate coconut. Chocolate coconut. Chocolate coconut. Good. And parallel partition. Parallel partition. Good. And how about babbling brooks? Mind repeating that one? Okay. And dawdling difference. Dawdling difference. Or perhaps dawdling difference, depending on how you pronounce that. Good. And pumpkin patchwork. Pumpkin patchwork. How about separate cacophony? Separate cacophony. Good. And baby hippopotamus. Baby hippopotamus. Okay. And last one, mysterious memory. Mysterious Very good. And then we're going to start moving on to some different coordination tests and work on the upper extremities as well. We are going to do what's called the nose-finger coordination test. So we're going to be looking for things like dysmetria as well as an intention tremor. So I'm going to hold my finger up here. And what I want you to do is I'm going to have you touch your finger to your nose and then to my finger. It'll look something like this, but a little more at a distance. I'm just going to have you touch your nose, then my finger. Good. Nose, finger, nose, finger, nose. Very good. And if we could switch hands, so the other side, nose, finger, nose, finger, Yep, just a few more times there. Okay, now I'm going to switch it up on you a little. I am going to have you do the same thing, but this time keep your eyes closed. So that, again, we're doing this and trying to get around the same areas, right? Okay, so if you could just touch your nose, close your eyes, and touch my finger, back and forth and back and forth. Okay, just give that a few shots. Good. Looking to see if maybe you overshoot it or you go a completely different direction. Good. Let's go ahead and switch. Now we'll do the other side, back and forth and back and forth, keeping the eyes closed. Okay, just a couple of rounds of that. Wonderful. Okay, now we're going to step it up just a little bit more. I'm going to have you do the same test, except this time my finger is going to be moving around. So if you could just put your finger on your nose and keeping your eyes open this time, just go ahead and touch my finger. Okay, back to your nose, finger, nose, finger, nose, finger, nose, and so on and so forth. Just keep touching back and forth, even as I'm moving around. And let's switch hands. Okay, nose, finger, Good, and just do this for a smidge. Very good. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down. And then we are going to be looking at the tone of your muscles. We're going to start with the upper limbs, and when we get down to the lower limbs, we'll do that then. I am going to have you just allow me to take the weight of your arm. I'm going to put one hand under your elbow. One hand is going to support your hand, and just let them go floppy. Just let them relax. We're going to do some passive range of movement, okay? So, I'm just going to move your elbow flexion and move your wrist back and forth a bit to get a bit of rotation. Good. Sometimes cerebellar disease, abnormalities, lesions, they can cause what's called hypotonia. Okay, the other side, if you'll allow me to just take the weight of your arm here, just going to move your elbow, your wrist, elbow, and wrist. Good. Okay, so while we're here, we're going to do a little bit of active range of movement as well, just to note your coordination, your ability to do this range of movement. So firstly, I am going to have you start with your hands here. I'm going to have you just move your fingers into sort of a tabletop, and then fold the first knuckles here. Fold the fingers down, splay the fingers, and clench the fists. Good. And if you could move your wrists in, out, down, up, flexion and extension. Good. And give them a couple of turns, inside and out. Good. And if you could move your arms so that the elbows bend in and out. Get some creaking and cracking in there. Yep. And if I could have you keep your arms glued to your sides and move your lower arms at the elbow, you could come all the way in so your arms are crossing in, and all the way out so that they're rotating outwards. Okay, in and out, in and out. Okay, can you roll the shoulders back and forth? Good. And can you lift your arms up and all the way up? Good, and go all the way back. Right, and arms at your side, if you could lift them so that they are parallel to the floor. And then go all the way up so the backs of your hands are touching. Okay, wonderful. How was all that? Any weakness? Any pain? Restriction? No. Wonderful. So, let me just note that down real quick. And then we will move on to a more relevant test, which is going to be the test for Dysdiadochokinesia. It's a little bit of a $10 word there. Dysdiadochokinesia, which is an inability to produce rapid repetitive movements. So I'm going to have you hold out your hand with the other one. Put it in your hand like this, palms touching. And then if you could flip your hand over. Flip it back, flip it over, and then do that as fast as you can. Back and forth, back and forth. Good. Now the other side, palms touching, and then flip the hand over. Palms touching, flip the hand over, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, as fast as you can. Very good, very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to test what's called a rebound phenomenon. I'm going to have you hold your arms out right in front of you, and then I'm going to have you close your eyes. I am going to be pushing down on one arm, letting it go, seeing what happens. So, hold your arms out. Okay? Close the eyes for me. There you go. And I'm going to just push the arm down and let it come back up. Good. Push the arm down. Let it come back up. Push down. Come back up. Push down. Let it come back up. ahead and open your eyes. Now we are going to look at your lower limbs now. We are going to check the tone and we are going to do a coordination test as well. We're also going to be testing your reflexes as well as doing a little bit of a walking examination. So I'm going to have you go ahead and lie down, and then we'll look at the tone of your lower limbs. So I'm just going to roll each leg. Just move this one here. We're going to roll each leg in and out here. Good. In and out. Good. And then I am just going to lift your knee very quickly. And I'm just going to have you let me take the weight of it. So don't try to fight it, just let me raise it up real quick. And take the knee and good. Okay, other side. Very good. Now finally we're going to do the heel to shin test. So I am going to have you lift up your foot and touch your heel to your knee. You're going to run your heel down your leg to your ankle, lift off, touch your knee, run down the shin to the ankle, lift off, and keep doing this back and forth. All right? So if I could have you just do that real quick. Put your heel to your knee, run it down the shin to the ankle, lift off, knee, shin, ankle. Just keep doing that. Good. And the other side, we'll have your heel touch your knee, run down the shin to the ankle, lift off, heel to the knee, shin, ankle, back and forth, just like that. Good. You could do that a few times. Heel to knee, down the shin to the ankle, lift and go back and forth. Good. Okay. I'm going to have you sit up and we'll move to the next part of our exam. Now for our reflexes here, we are going to use the Babinski hammer today. So I am going to look, of course, at your patellar reflex. That's pretty standard. But we're going to go through your other reflexes as well, just to make sure. So we're actually going to start with your ankle jerk or your Achilles tendon reflex. I am just going to hold your foot lightly here. We're going to cock it just a bit so that I have that little bit of tension in the tendon. And I'm going to be just tapping on that tendon. So if you could just relax the leg here. Okay, just let it relax, and we are going to just like that. that all right? Okay. I'm going to put this foot down. We're going to move to the other side. And take up your foot, that little bit of tension, and just let the leg relax. Let's go ahead and do. Good. Good. And you can let your feet hang. Now we're going to go up to our knee-jerk reflex. So if you could just let all the tension out of your legs here. And we're going to do a few taps here. Good. Got some good reflex there. If we had an issue with cerebellar disease, we might see a decreased reflex. And good on the other side as well. Now I'm going to be testing the biceps and triceps reflexes. For the triceps reflex, I'm going to have you lay your arm across your thigh here, just like that, and let the arm go floppy. Let it go free of tension, all loose. And I'm going to come around the back of the arm, and I'm going to be striking back in here. Okay? So let the arm go loose. And good. Okay? And the other side. Just lay the arm across the thigh. Let it relax. Let it go loose. Good. Now I am going to do the biceps reflex by curling my fingers around the elbow and putting my thumb in the cubital fossa of your arm, the little depression here, the crook of the elbow, and I'm going to be tapping on top of my thumb there. So I'm going to curl my fingers around your elbow, put my thumb in the crook, and we are just going to. Good. The other side, just real quick, curling the fingers around and putting my thumb in the crook of the elbow. Just like that. Real simple. So that's going to be it for all of our sitting exams. But I am going to have you do a few tests where you are standing. And we're going to start with the Romberg's test. So this isn't actually a test for cerebellar abnormalities, but instead we're looking for what's called sensory ataxia. So instead of having ataxia that is related to the cerebellum, we're looking at balance issues that arise from an impairment of one of your balance systems. You have 3 systems, and you need 2 working at one time. You have your vision, you have your vestibular function, which is in your ears, and your proprioception, or your ability to sense where your body parts are in relation to space. So with this, we are taking away one of those systems, and if one of those other systems isn't working, then we're going to have a positive Romberg sign. But if you're all good, then we are going to have a negative one. So I'm going to have you stand up and put your feet together and put your hands at your side. Arms at your side, everything just loose. Right? Now I am right here in case you are wobbly, in case you lose your balance, and I'm going to have you close your eyes. We're going to take away the vision part of your balance system, and we're going to see if there's a problem with the other two. So just go ahead and close the eyes. Very good. And it's okay to sway a bit. Okay, good. Yep, I'm just right here. And you can go ahead and open the eyes. All right. So you did just a little minute little sway, and that is completely normal. So we don't have any sensory ataxia. Now, I did look at you as you were coming in to the room, and we didn't see any other signs of ataxia, but we're going to do some tests that may exaggerate any of that, any of those balance issues, any of those involuntary movements. So I'm going to have you walk to the end of the room, okay? Just normally, walk to the end of the room and turn for me. And you'd be surprised, but if you're having difficulty with ataxia, this is going to be hard. It's not going to be very easy, especially the turning. Okay, and if you could come back walking heel to toe. So your heel is going to be right in front of your toes, and you're going to walk with your feet touching with each step. It's also called tandem walking. You can just walk back. Good. And if you could walk back on your heels. So walking with just your heels on the ground. Good. And if you could come back walking on your toes. Very good. Might be a smidge wobbly, yeah? Okay, excellent. So our walking tests for any type of cerebellar lesion-related ataxia looks good. You can go ahead and sit back down for me. Excellent. So, did you have any questions for me at all? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And that will be the end of your examination. I'd like to thank you so much for coming in to see me for this cerebellar examination. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, it would greatly help me out if you clicked the like button and left a comment so YouTube's algorithm registers that it was a good video. If you want to see more of my work, consider subscribing to the channel. I create primarily medical, pseudoscience / alternative medicine, and personal attention ASMR roleplays. But I've done a little bit of everything from historical to sci-fi to fantasy. If you'd like to support the channel, I offer ad-free videos, early access on videos, and exclusive content on Patreon, or I also have a Ko-Fi